Good evening, everyone. The time is 7 p.m., and I will now call this regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, the next item is the acceptance of tonight's agenda. I don't have any changes this evening, so I'll entertain.
I'll make a motion, we accept the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you both. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. The next item is the approval of minutes from our regular meeting of April 3rd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from
I'll
April
second
3rd.
that.
All right, any errors, changes, or omissions on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, next up is communications and correspondence. Before we get into Job's Pond, I just received this email from a resident this evening, and I just wanted to read it because I think it's some good news too in town. And it says, "Hey Ryan, I just wanted to share that we had a leak at our house where the water comes in from the town source." And it says, "I know it's obvious that I have no idea what I'm talking about mechanically. We contacted our plumber to come fix it. He realized it was the town's meter that was leaking and said he could not touch that and we should call the town. I called the Department of Public Works and of course was well greeted and taken care of by Cheryl Cream. I then spoke with Ryan O'Halpin, who just could not have been more helpful. He actually asked for my plumber's telephone number so he could contact him to find out exactly what the issue was. Again, obvious, I did not know. After they spoke, it was a matter of a half an hour before Kyle Armstrong, I believe, was contacting us to address the matter. It was just an extraordinary experience to work with that department. I am very grateful and wanted you to be aware of what a tremendous asset these people are to the town." That's George Law, and I just thought I wanted to share that with the board since it's some good news, and kudos to our town employees. So next, under communications and correspondence, I wanted to give this board an update on Job's Pond and the flooding situation that's going on right now. It's on a crisis matter. I know we have a number of residents here this evening. I've invited the residents of Job's Pond here as well. I know a number of you have been out there. I know Bobby and Jim have gone out and walked and seen the damage so far. So I thought I'd just go through a brief timeline. And then if the board has any questions, but if anyone in the audience from Job's Pond, we can address that now and just talk about it. So I know it's important, and I wanted to keep you guys all informed on it. So obviously the water's been rising now for a number of months, I believe, and the concerns kept rising to a level where I think it was in late March where we started really knowing that this was a problem, with conference calls with federal or state agencies. I know Christy Carpino, our state representative, Senator Norm Needleman, they've been well aware. Christy's been out at least a couple times to the site already. So I think it was our April 3rd meeting where I briefed you all the last time, and I had those town meeting minutes that we discussed about this similar situation that happened in 1984 and how the town addressed it back then. And so since that time, that was April 3rd. So what happened since? So on April 4th, I officially requested federal assistance through the Federal Emergency Watershed Protection Program. This is the program it's actually the same program that we used back in 1984. I was surprised to learn that the same program not only still exists, but this is what the state and federal government recommended that we apply to. Now, it's a lengthy process. However, we're working with our representatives at the federal level and the state level to expedite this process. So with that, on April 11th, the state conservation engineer with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Natural Resources Conservation Service, conducted a field review with his team. I was out there with many of the residents who are here were out there, and it was very helpful, I think, for this gentleman and his team to gather initial information, but they need more. And so on April 23rd, they are doing a damage site reconnaissance at Job's Pond. And so the information that they will be gathering on that date is pond surface elevation, structure first floor elevation, basement elevation, and then the YMCA camp infrastructure. And so I think it's helpful just to give you a timeline of what happens next after they do that site visit. After that, they need to complete their damage survey report, or DSR, and they have to get that in to the NRCS Nation headquarters by June 3rd, 2024. That's the latest. Now, I know that they're gonna get this in well before then. So Tuesday, they'll be out there. That's this coming Tuesday, they'll be out there again. I'm hoping that that report will be completed very quickly so that they can get that to the federal government. Once that gets submitted, decisions can range from a few weeks to 3 months. And obviously, three months is an awful long time. And so some positive news that we've heard is that Senator Blumenthal's office is reaching out to expedite this process with USDA. I believe Congressman Larson's office has also reached out expressing similar interest. And Senator Murphy's office as well is on this as well. So we're getting a lot of help and support from our federal partners at the legislature. And also, I know that the governor's office is aware, and I'm hopeful that should the funds be approved, if the governor were to declare a declaration of emergency at Job's Pond, that would be very helpful to remove permitting processes and fees that would necessarily be in place that would hold up any solutions to the pond. And so that's really where we are at right now. Right now, we continue to wait on the USDA to continue their review and get that report in, and then getting that approval of the report is really the next steps that we have. And so I guess, does anybody on the board have any questions?
Sounds like it's moving as well as it can. Hopefully it moves quickly. But I'm glad to see that all our federal representatives are involved. I think that's got.
They've all been extremely helpful, I would say, and also the Department of Emergency Management, Homeland Security has been helpful. DPH, DEP. There's been a number of agencies that have been looking at this, and everybody's trying to do what they can to expedite this, I believe. And so, but there's a lot of hoops to jump through with this type of stuff, unfortunately.
Just curious, my assumption is that not if, but when this gets squared away, is the approach going to be the same as it was the last time?
They don't know yet. That's going to be something that's up to the Natural Resources Conservation Service. So they will be exploring options. And so I believe their report is going to have a number of options, and they're going to pick the best option that they can. I believe back in 1984, they chose the path and the pumping option that they did because it was the most cost effective at the time, and it was the easiest or straightest path to the river. And so I would expect that they would do something similar. They'll look at all the options and try to find the best one. So does anybody from the pond area would like to have any questions or like to come up? If you could just come up to the microphone and just state your name, please. So we know you're at Job's Pond.
Yeah, Mike Leary. We own 2 Jobs Gate 1. I was just wondering if you have a time frame for Tuesday when they're going to be out there?
I don't yet, no. As soon as I will relay that as soon as I get it. But from the sound of it, it sounds like they're going to be there for quite some time. So I would imagine it will be in the morning. But I don't know yet. That's not confirmed. But it just sounds from the amount of work that they have to do that they'll be there for a while.
Okay. And I'm sure you don't know yet. Are they going to survey all the houses? Or
All the houses.
All right. Thank you.
Godin. Certainly respect the process, and kudos to everybody from the association as well as all of you. we've been tracking this. It's 17 feet, 18 inches since we started talking to you, Ryan. In the next few weeks, it's going to be on the first floor of many other residences. This is not going to be, unless Mother Nature takes over, which we all don't know the source, really, of what's going on, but we're going to lose the homes. And that's just how I feel personally about it. I have a background in construction and real estate. I've worked for a Fortune 5 company for 30 years. This is really tough stuff, and the process doesn't support that. Thank you.
Ellen Mantle. I'm at Job's 6. And just a quick question for you. By the way, we do appreciate all your help and concerns and thoughts, for sure. But a quick question. The amount of electricity that we're generating right now as a result of all the pumps that are running, in some cases, we have one home where they're running at least 10 pumps just to keep the water down so it doesn't flood the entire basement. Is there anything that perhaps can be done? Are there any resources available to us through either Eversource or something in the state where we might be able to get a break on our power?
Ellen, it's a great question. I know it came up as well when I was out there. I reached out to our liaison. Every town has a liaison with Eversource. I'm waiting to hear back. As soon as I'm looking at any programs, emergency relief programs or anything, as soon as I have any information on that, I will relay that to you. But right now, I just don't have any information yet.
Okay, thank you.
I know there's a number of pumps that are being run to pump out the basements, and it's generating a lot of electricity for the residents as well.
Hello, I'm Diane Godin. So my husband and I have number 16, Job's Gate 1. Thank you. I share everyone's sentiment for all your help. I'm still not clear, and I apologize if you addressed this in your comments right before we came up and started talking, but I'm not clear. You said the governor declaring a state of emergency out there. Well, why hasn't that happened? Do we need USDA to be involved? Who is the governing party that says Job's Pond is in a crisis situation and Job's Pond is undergoing a state of emergency? Who has the governing authority to do that?
Okay, that's a good question. So it's my understanding that the governor would be able to declare that an emergency at Job's Pond. However, right now, it's doing that. The only thing that would do right now is it would alleviate any, from what I understand, any permitting issues or any state regulations that would be barring a potential solution. Right now, we don't know what that solution is yet. It may be pumping. So if the solution is, if the USDA does say that the solution is to pump the pond out, and the logical source of that pumping would be the Connecticut River, if that were to be the case, then the governor's declaration would allow all of the regulations to be kind of alleviated so that we can get those pumps in and we don't have to pay permit fees and all that. That's my understanding of that declaration. So if the governor were to declare that today, it would do no benefit currently, which is why I think they're monitoring and they're kind of waiting to see, I believe, and I could be wrong, this is my understanding. I believe they're waiting to see this, and it's the Emergency Watershed Protection Program is what we've applied for. So once, hopefully, that gets approved and we have a plan in place and that plan says, okay, pumping is the way to go, then that declaration, the governor's office is well aware of this. And so I just talked with our region coordinator with the Department of Homeland, Emergency Management and Homeland Security, and he just reached out to the governor's office as well on this to make sure that they're aware. So it's just, the town could also declare, I was explaining before, the town could also declare an emergency, but it really would do no good for us, for our purposes, because when a town declares an emergency, it really just allows other municipalities to have, to work together, but we already have that with the fire department, so there's no benefit to the town in doing that. It's really you use that declaration of emergency to achieve something, or to get the funding necessary. And everyone has said that the best source of funding is through this emergency watershed protection program, and that's why we're seeking that funding.
Okay, so just to recap, to make sure that I understand accurately, we need both pieces, though. We need the governor's declaration of an emergency situation out there, as well as USDA's report sent to the federal government and their review and whatever's going to happen, right? We need both pieces. So while the governor's declaration isn't perhaps going to create a result tomorrow or a week from now, we still need that within the next 3-6 months, correct?
Well, most likely. Now, I think it's going to depend too on the results and what the report says is the best option. If we need to jump through the legal red tape in order to and all the permitting and fees or whatever for the solution, but we don't yet know what the USDA is going to recommend as the solution. So
Right.
I think, I know what you're saying, could the governor declare an emergency now, and what would be the harm in it?
Correct, and if nothing else, I think it would help all of the homeowners on Joe's Pond in one way or another. Perhaps it may not solve the flooding issue within a reasonable amount of time, which a reasonable amount of time is a very small window, right? So perhaps it may not do that, but I just can't see how it could harm the situation. I don't see how it could do anything but help, but thank you.
Yeah, no.
And I'd like to submit some timeline pictures. So in here, you'll see a year ago what the water level was on the pond. All of these pictures were taken from 16 Jobs, so I look both ways, and you'll see both ends of the pond. So I don't know if I have enough copies, but
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
Does anyone else who's here have any questions or comments?
My name is Veronica Ketch, and I'm at Jobs Gate 1, number 17. I'm also president of the Jobs Pond Waterfront Corporation, Jobs Gate 1. Again, thank you everyone for your efforts in trying to expedite this along for us. I cannot stress, along with all the other residents, how imminent danger is, and I don't say that lightly. I shut my power off this past week. I'm a summer resident, so as far as affecting me, it's going to affect me in a slighter way, but it's still going to affect me. And I was thinking today that while we're our goal is to get this in motion quicker than later, that we also incorporate the long-term fix so that we're not waiting another 5 to 7 years or something like that. So if that could be incorporated into all the talks with USDA and okay, you're making this decision, let's make it even further and get the rest of it in process, because it should have been done in 1984 and it never was followed up on. So that's the point that I just wanted to bring up. And again, I thank everyone, and any efforts to expedite, we all appreciate. Thank you.
I do know that, and we did talk about it with the gentleman with USDA, and there's two programs. The first is to solve the immediate problem, which is the flooding, and then there's also a mitigation component as well that we can explore too, to look at, you know, long-term solutions so that we can prevent this from happening in the future. And so I know that the federal government is aware and working and willing to assist with that as well. And I think we talked to, when Jim was out, I think he spoke about that. So, you know, we'll follow up on that also.
Brian, just a thought. The lady that spoke about the benefit of the governor declaring a state of emergency, and the question that Ellen had a little bit earlier about the cost, the electrical cost to these folks. Would a governor's state of emergency possibly help expedite reimbursement to them from Eversource? I mean, I'm thinking, would that be one of the things that it could potentially impact?
That's one of the things that I'm trying to find out right now. I don't have, that's a good question. I don't have the answer to that right now. And so I think it's definitely, that's why I reached out to Eversource. It also, reaching out to Representative Carpino and State Senator Needleman, I think will also be helpful with that as well. But that's a good question. Let me get back to you.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to talk about the pond?
I just have to ask, if this was Route 66 and it was flooded and transportation couldn't cross, what process would that follow? Because people losing their homes, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in personal damage in a place that doesn't normally flood. I just have to understand, what would that process be? Because the process we're talking about is months. You don't have months, unless Mother Nature takes over, which we all don't know if it will, and we pray that it does. But every time it rains, we get the 2-inch storm, we're getting 8 inches of rise. So I have to ask, what's that process?
That's a difficult question. You know, that's a hypothetical question, but I don't have an answer on that. But all I can say is we're doing everything
I know
that we
you
can.
are, but I'm asking that difficult question because that's what it's going to take, because we don't have the benefit of months for the residences. Again, if Mother Nature takes over, we'll all breathe a sigh of relief and we have more time. But that's not what's happening. The rise is really fast. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? I'm not sure, just to make sure no one's online that would like to talk on that.
There is a comment. You want us to read it?
I mean, is it related to Job? Because we're only talking about Job's Pond, that's all.
It's the only long-term solution this person can conceptualize is to move the buildings to a higher level.
Okay. All right. So I think, anybody else have anything on there? We'll move on from this. Okay. All right. So next up, we'll move to public comment. So if there's anyone who wants to comment on anything, you're welcome to do so now. If you'd like to come up. Is there anyone in the chat? Good. All right. So we'll move on to item 7, which is old business. And our first item is the monthly report from the Committee on Solidarity. And here is Liz here with us this evening. Hi, Liz. Hi, Liz.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thanks for having us. So some updates that we have this month. We have a new member we're very excited about. She's on Zoom right now. Her name is Cynthia Tyler. So we're excited to fill up our committee, and we still do have one opening of a regular spot on the Committee on Solidarity. And it's a spot for someone that is not a Democrat. So just for everyone to keep in mind, we do hope to fill up our committee, and so we can keep doing all the great work that is happening. So coming up on Saturday, we have an event collaborating with Portland Library, so it'll be at the library this Saturday, the 20th at 1 p.m. That's our Stonewall Speakers panel. So it's a Pride work group has planned this event with the library, and we're very excited because the Stonewall Speakers are a very highly regarded speakers bureau in Connecticut, and they'll be sending out, I believe, 2 speakers to share experiences about their experiences in the LGBTQ community. So that event is open for people ages 11 and up, and so tweens, teens, and adults, and then it'll be in the Mary Flood room at the library at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And then our next, we actually have a couple of other Pride events coming up in June. So there's going to be something coming up in May, but we'll get the information out about that soon. But we'll definitely be participating in the Middletown Pride March on June 1st, and everyone is welcome to join us. We marched last year as well. That was the first time, and we had a great turnout, and it was nice to be involved with our neighbors across the bridge. And then, of course, also in June, we have Juneteenth coming up. So that's Saturday, June 15th at Portland Middle and High School campus. From 10:30 to 3:30, we have a flyer that we just finalized, so we'll be sharing that. We've been collecting some advertisements. We're very grateful to the local businesses and organizations in Portland supporting the event with advertisements and co-sponsors. For our program, we have a new sponsor, Dell Printing, who helped us out last year as well, so they'll be printing our flyers. So we're very grateful for all the support from the town, and from Town Hall, and from lots of other programs coordinating with us. So we have a lot going on with that. I don't want to take too much time to talk about all of the details, because I know you have other things on your agenda, but we'll start sharing more and more on Facebook and emails, just getting information out about what we'll be having at the event. So it'll be a full day of lots of great activities for Juneteenth. Another piece we've been working on is following up after the very successful Black History Month event with the Historical Society in the library. We are planning an oral history podcast series, and we're going to be applying for a grant for that. The Historical Society will apply for the grant. And so we're really looking forward to that as well, and we'll have more information about that soon. And then we're also still in the kind of information gathering process for the social work and law enforcement project, to see how we can hopefully implement that at some point in Portland. So those are the major updates that I have, unless there are any questions.
Thanks. Any questions?
Liz, it's not a question. I maybe have some information for you. Last night, my wife and I were just looking for something new to watch on television, and we stumbled on a CPTV special. It was brand new. It must have just come out, because there were interviews in there from 2024. And it was called Unforgotten Connecticut History of Slavery.
Oh, I saw that on Facebook ad.
It was amazing. And there were, what it was is a number of descendants of African Americans, slaves, who still live in and around Connecticut. And I was just thinking, for some of the things you do, and for another Historical Society joint venture, you might be able to get some of those people to come and speak. They were, it was an amazing show.
Great, thank you so much for mentioning that. I will definitely look into that. And that's something that, one of our speakers at Juneteenth last year, his name is John Mills. He does a lot of work in Connecticut uncovering, history of enslaved people.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of speaking engagements across the state, and it's really interesting. So he's another person that, probably if people want to look up that CPTV special, and then also like just Google John Mills, that's another one that's doing great work. So thank you so much for mentioning that, John.
No problem, thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Liz?
Nope.
I hope to see you Saturday, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we can move on with the next item, which is item B. Now, in your packets, you'll see we've started putting, I think this is a really great idea, so thank you to Andrea Alfano for recommending that we do this. So going forward, you'll see recent resignations to boards and commissions in the agenda packet, so everyone, and in the emails too. So people are aware, everyone's aware of recent resignations. So we did have two. We had Peter Falanda, who resigned as an alternate on the Parks and Recreation Commission, and we have Brian Anzalotti, who resigned as an alternate on the Planning and Zoning Commission. So thank you both. So with that, we'll move on to appointments.
We have one tonight. We have Joe Spada for the Planning and Zoning Commission
I'll second that
All right.
as an alternate.
as an alternate.
And so this would be Joe replacing Brian then?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
And just for the record, we should have, in our next meeting, have someone for that other vacancy.
Yes.
To put
that's-
forward.
Yep, yep. So I think the Parks and Recreation will be filled at the next meeting, which is great. So with that, we'll move onto new business. And so with our adoption of the budget at our last meeting, we are doing our yearly water and sewer budgets for the year, for fiscal year 2024 to 2025. So in your packet is the water and sewer budgets for the year, as well as a resolution to approve both of these budgets.
Yeah, I'll be happy to make that motion. I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution dated April 17th, 2024, titled Adoption of the Water and Sewer Budgets for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Resolved that the water and sewer budgets for fiscal year 2024-2025, as outlined on the attached in the amounts of $1,780,030 in the water budget and $1,283,570 in the sewer budget, be and are hereby adopted.
I'll second that.
Thank you both. Any discussion on this? I know we've gone over this as part of our budget process and deliberation, but seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Is Mike still with us virtually? Just want to see. I don't think I've heard him, but is he muted? Or?
Yeah, Ryan, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure you can talk, Mike, thank you. All right, so next up is a resolution. Now, this is some good news as far as one of our projects in town that we've been discussing for some time is our Main Street sidewalk replacement project. And you may recall the town received a grant, STEEP grant, which is a small town economic assistance program grant in the amount of $400,000. And then there was a $100,000 match from the town as well. So with that, we've been able to have the engineering done on the sidewalk replacement. Now, we left off on the sidewalks, I believe, at Arvid Road. So this project would begin at Arvid Road and will be going north on Main Street, replacing those existing damaged sidewalks. And we went out to bid on the project, and the bids came back, and they were relatively favorable. The company that won the bid really came in nicely, and we're going to, because of how well it came in, we're going to be able to, I think, get further than we initially anticipated. So we have the add alternate 1 in this as well. So we're really hoping, the goal is to get to Gildersleeve School, which would be really, really cool if we could get all the way there. I can't guarantee that, because if change orders come up or something happens, we may not be able to get all the way there. But if we don't have any hiccups or bumps in the road, that's where we would end up right now, which is pretty good for today's dollars. So, you want to?
Yeah, I'll make them.
Sure.
Resolution, Board of Selectmen, Town of Portland, Connecticut, April 17th, 2024. Contract agreement with Garofalo and Saraceno Contractors, LLC. Resolved that the Board of Selectmen hereby authorize First Selectman Ryan J. Curley to execute and deliver in the name of and on behalf of the Town of Portland a contract with Garofalo and Saraceno Contractors, LLC, 30 Stack Street, Middletown, Connecticut, 06457, for bid number 2024-09, Main Street sidewalk improvements from Harvard Road going north. The total base bid contract, including alternate number 1, prior to any change orders, is approximately $411,000.
I'll second that.
Thank you both. And just before we continue discussion, I just want to give you a timeline of when we can expect the work to begin. So right now, we're waiting on DOT, I believe it's DOT District 2, and they just need to get a permit from DOT District 2, which could take anywhere between 3 to 4 weeks, I'm told. Once they get that permit in, they're going to start work right away, and the whole project is going to take about 3 to 4 weeks. So we may be done by the middle of June with the sidewalk replacement project. So I think it's really, not only is it a good thing, but the timing lines up. So I know a lot of people on Main Street will be happy about that.
Just a thought, if it does start and ends in June, presumably, we're gonna have part of the viewing area for the Memorial Day Parade torn up, right? So we just need to kind of keep that in mind, because that's in that section, that's the only sidewalk on that side of the street.
It's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that, John. If they do start in the middle of May, which is what we expect, they would, as they complete the project, though, the brand-new sidewalks are usable. And so it really would be, there would be
I'm just wondering how far ahead they're going to be tearing them out.
some area. But the parade route doesn't go on the sidewalk. The spectators are on the sidewalk. I think it's a good point. There'll probably be an area that's
just to keep it in
circled
mind when
Yeah.
we start planning the parade.
That weekend, that's all.
No, that's a good point. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I'll talk with Ryan O'Halpin about that as well. So with that, any other discussion on this?
Just that this is something that, I remember working on the sidewalk subcommittee on this stuff, and we've taken this in chunks. It's nice to see us getting to where the ultimate goal was, is to get it down to the fire station, Gildersleeve, in that area. So this is welcomed.
And just so you know, I did submit a grant that would complete the sidewalks on Main Street, that would fund the full completion. Waiting on that. We didn't get the initial funding, but there's a chance that could still happen. It would be great if that happened while they were out there, and we could add another change order, but we'll see. So stay tuned on that, but this is great. So I think it's a nice win for the town.
Yep.
So with that, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mike. Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, next up is item C. It is Fair Housing Month, so we have a proclamation. We do this every year. I don't know if you want to read the proclamation or if you want to waive it this year, but
I'm
it is.
good with waiving it. Waive it.
Okay. Well, do you want to? So you're making a motion to, move the proclamation.
But waive the reading.
Okay. So, all those, is there a second? Was that Bobby?
I'll second it.
All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. All right, thank you. And I have a copy, and I believe it's on the website if anyone would like to read the proclamation. Next up is item D under new business, which is refunds of excess payments. We have one this evening.
I'll make a motion for a refund of excess payment to Phyllis R. and Joseph C. Marino for $70.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Right, we'll move on to status and committee reports. I have a number of items this evening I just want to go through. I know we did touch on Job's Pond already, so I'll move on. One, I want to let the board know that I'm sure everyone was there or watching the public hearing on Brainerd Place on April 4th that did not go as anyone anticipated. Just so you are all aware, the developer did resubmit on Friday the proposed Brainerd Place proposal. So those two proposals are back with planning and zoning. They will be, I believe, accepting the receipt of them at their meeting tomorrow evening. And the next public hearing meeting regarding Brainerd Place is going to take place at a special meeting, I believe. They're not going to conduct other business like they did the last time at that meeting. So I don't have a date for you on that. It will be in May. So, as soon as that is announced by planning and zoning, we'll make sure to get that out. But one thing that our Economic Development Commission had asked was, and I want you all to be aware, is that they've invited the developer of Brainerd Place to a special meeting of the Economic Development Commission. This meeting is going to be held on Monday, May 29th at 7 p.m. in the Portland High School auditorium. And so it'll be similar to last time, only no decision will be made. But it's an opportunity for, the developer to fully present what he was unable to present at the public hearing, as well as for residents to ask questions and really find out more about what the changes are and why the developer is feeling the need to request those changes. So I think that'll go a long way. We'll have that on Zoom and also on YouTube Live streaming. And so I think that will help, ahead of the next public hearing, just to help inform and provide an option away from any decision-making for residents to come and listen to that. So everyone's invited, and that'll be on April 29th, which is a Monday, 7 p.m. Let's see. So with that, we were, as you recall, supposed to have a special joint meeting of the Board of Education and Board of Selectmen this evening. That meeting has been moved to next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. in the high school library. And that meeting is on the proposal for what the town will be doing as far as the school facilities. So right now, we all talked about how we had a survey was conducted, the preference at the time from the town. The direction of the town said that we should decommission Gildersleeve School and Brownstone Intermediate School and renovate to new and expand Valley View School to a pre-K to grade 5 level school. Now, the architect firm, Fryer Architecture, has completed their designs and renderings on what a pre-K to 5 Valley View would look like, as well as what the cost estimates are. These are pretty firm numbers now that they've gone with different contractors to make sure that they are accurate. And all this information, we also have information from our town financial advisor as what that proposal would do to the town mill rate and all that. So that's going to be presented on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, at the Portland High School Library. And again, that's going to be online as well. So I think that's another very large meeting for the town and a chance for, certainly the town to find out what the proposal is. And I want to stress, though, that no decision on this has been made. The Board of Selectmen has not made a decision, and nor has the Board of Education made, what they would have to do is approve what's called the Superintendent's Ed Spec Report. And nothing has been happened right now. We're still in the fact-finding phase. I think this board wanted to find out what the cost would be, what it would look like, and what the options are. I guess I'll let Sean talk about what the options are for Gildersleeve and Brownstone, but that committee has been working very hard as well. They met on Monday. I'll let Sean talk about that. But yeah, I just want to make sure we get the word out so people can find out about that. And so stay tuned. Let's see, what else? So I just want to reiterate that we have a budget coming up. We have our town meeting, which is on Monday, May 6th at 7 p.m. at Portland High School. And then the annual budget referendum is on Monday, May 13th, and polls are open from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. And absentee ballots will be available in the town clerk's office on the budget referendum beginning Wednesday, April 24th. So those are some more dates. And I have another announcement. I found out that DOT will be doing another informational session on the proposed changes to the Route 9 redesign, or the removal of the traffic lights on Route 9. And I wanted to just touch base on that. I don't know, I have a page on that with the dates. Let me see where that is. I don't have that in front of me, but I will get that to you. I know I printed it. So.
Yeah. April 30th.
Oh, that's my page.
Oh, it was in my stuff. April 30th. That's right.
There it is. Yeah.
April
thank you.
30th.
All right.
5 to 7.
Yep, April
was
30th
hijacked.
at Wesleyan University, Beckham Hall, 45 Willis Avenue. And it's April 30th from 7 p.m. until 8 p.m. is the presentation. And then there's an open house from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. So they are moving forward with removing the traffic lights on Route 9. I have been in regular routine communication with the Middlesex Chamber of Commerce, as well as the mayor of Middletown and the town manager of Cromwell and the town manager of East Hampton. We are all unified in making sure that all of our concerns are addressed. There's a number of concerns that we had with the initial proposal from DOT. They have been taking steps to work with all of the municipalities and the business owners in Middletown. I'm feeling more comfortable that those concerns will be addressed, but there's more to come on that. I just want you all to be aware that we are very much monitoring this and making sure that whatever happens next is in the best interest of Portland residents as well, and those visiting the town of Portland. All right, and I have one more positive news to share this evening. I want to give a special shout out and thanks to Portland resident Steve Kimball. And Steve Kimball, I don't know if anyone saw this, but a couple months back, Steve had posted on the Portland community page on Facebook that he was looking at the kiosk at the Portland Reservoir, and the kiosk there had been in really rough shape, and he wanted to know if anyone would like to help in putting that back and breathing some new life into it. And Steve ended up doing it, well, with two of his brothers. And he finished yesterday, and I was able to go out there and meet him and one of his brothers out there and see the completed project. I took a couple pictures of them, but they donated the supplies, they donated shingles, and they donated their time to do this, and it really looks great. And it's his whole family, I forget if he has 4 or 5 brothers, but they're all Eagle Scouts, and they just wanted to do something nice in the community, and I think that's really cool. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Steve and both of his brothers, Jonathan and Dan. So,
Well, now that you let the cat out of the bag, can you put that photo on the town website? So
I'm
everybody-
going to, yeah. This all just happened. I just wanted to.
That's
yeah,
great.
It's pretty cool. All right, that's it for me.
Well, so Monday night, we had another, I think it was our third third meeting of the Land and Building Usage Assessment Committee, which we, as Ryan commented on, we are looking at different alternatives, I guess, of what the Gildersleeve School and the Brownstone Intermediate School, what might happen to them if this referendum goes through for this K-5 school up at Valley View. Last week, Tuesday, April 9th, Ryan did a tour with a few of the committee members. I wasn't present. Along with them was a representative from Attlebrook Learning Center, A gentleman named Larry Dooley, who's the one that renovated, his company renovated the Colt Building in Hartford. And then there was another gentleman, I guess, another developer was at the Brownstone Intermediate School. Larry came to our meeting, and he was very informative, and we've been going back and forth of what some of the uses could be for these buildings. And as some of you on the board know, and what happened a few years ago is the Board of Education had a report done called the Sightlines Report, which went through every school in town, and they gave a list of what costs would be to these schools of what needed to be done in certain timelines. When we look at Gildersleeve and we look at Brownstone, and we look at some of the numbers of what someone might have to do to come in and either renovate the building, let's say Brownstone, or if they wanted to buy the Gildersleeve property, some of those numbers seem to outweigh the benefit of what they could do in the return on investment. So Larry spoke, and he gave a really good presentation, just informing us of some of the things that we might encounter moving forward. And one of them I thought was pretty interesting. He said that a lot of towns in Connecticut, what they're doing with some of their buildings, that they're giving up, I guess you should say, and the repairs are in excess of what it would, the return would be for an investor. They're actually turning the building over to the investor in hopes to get revenue via taxes, property taxes, water, sewer, that sort of thing. A lot of, he said that like Gildersleeve, even Brownstone, people might look at it as housing, and he did stress that every town he walks into, people cringe when they hear housing, even though housing is needed. And another thing that was pretty, I thought that was I don't know. I guess it was good to hear from somebody else. He was talking about that banks aren't loaning the way they used to, so they're only loaning about 50% loan to value. And a lot of investors are going into the banks and they want something from the town, so they're going in, and he says your town's gonna kill you after you give away your property, but they're gonna come in looking for a tax abatement on top of it. And so we have another developer coming in, I think, our next meeting, and we have a couple realtors that we lined up to maybe look at the property with us, give us some sort of idea of what could be done with this property if this does go through. But either way, it's pretty stressful trying to come up with some alternatives with this.
The committee's got their work ahead of them. Right? Yeah. It's not easy, and so one of the things that we just found out was that if we were to demolish the Gildersleeve School, the estimated cost now is $4 million to do that, and the property's not worth, the land is not worth $4 million. So essentially, the town would be flipped on the land. So there's really, that's not really probably, I don't know, we'll have to talk. There may be a way of state reimbursement on that, but I don't want to really go down that road now. But there's really some tough options, and that's one of the things that the facilities, this building usage committee is finding out, is that I think we all thought that we had these valuable pieces of property that if we wanted to do something with them to help offset the cost of schools, there would be revenue there. But it turns out it doesn't seem like that's really the case, unfortunately. And so I think that's going to have to factor into other decisions that we make as far as the schools go at a later date, but it's just something that the building usage committee has been finding out. They've been really working hard on it, and it's just there's really not a lot of great options as far as decommissioning schools and also not incurring additional costs with that. And so more to come. We have some really, really great people on here working, and they're all thanking me for getting appointed. Any other updates, Sean?
No.
Okay.
Nothing here.
Okay.
Good.
All right, so next up is public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment? Is there anyone online at this time? All right. General, Board of Selectmen, general informal discussion.
The only question I have is about the Russell and Co. Avenue updates.
Oh, I'm glad you asked, actually. That was in my, I didn't get there. So the Russell Avenue project has been completed, the water line project has been completed, except for the road reconstruction. The road reconstruction has not started yet, but they're doing that very shortly. And the Co Avenue pump station project has not started. They were waiting on something, and I did not write it down, but I did check with Ryan today, and that should be coming very soon.
I just have one thing. It's still early in the process, but yesterday I met with Dr. Britton, our AD, the principals at the middle school and high school, and we've set up tentatively a 24-hour run-a-thon on the Portland track as a fundraiser for the track team. A lot of interest in it. We're going to have various different events during this thing, but it's designed to keep a baton moving around the track all 24 hours. We can get involvement from other teams, other schools in town, families, kids, past track parents and students. But I've done a couple of these in the past. It's a lot of fun. They will be able to sleep overnight on the track or on the field within the track, so it'll be camping out overnight. The sideliners will be providing food during that time as well. There'll be music, there'll be fun. Ryan pledged to run, I think, 10 hours of the 24. Feels pretty good about that, but it will be fun. I've done a couple of these, and they're a lot of fun to do. You can do a lot of different events. You can make it interesting. You can have different teams trying to compete with each other. We can see if the firemen run faster and farther than the police.
No.
And others.
No.
Not even close. Teachers versus students, D's versus R's. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. But we'll have something, more details finalized by early next week. I'll pass it around, and the track kids will be the primary ones carrying the baton, but the other events going on will be there. For example, there's some ultra marathoners in town that do 24-hour runs, 100-mile runs. So there's many of those, and a group of my friends, we may try to do as many miles as we can in the 24 hours. So there'll be other things going on, but we'll try to get a hold of the local newspapers and some of the stations but it's all to baptize the track and get people up there. Any residents in town can participate.
Was this to raise money for track equipment?
Yeah, for track equipment, with all the budgeting issues and stuff. We haven't hosted home meets in a long time. So in order to host 5 or 6 team home meet, you need the real timing systems. Those are 20 grand. You need extra hurdles. You also need to pay for the people helping out and stuff. So we could earn $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, but the sideliners will, if all the money goes to that account, will keep it just for track and won't be able to be used for anything else. But it should be exciting. I enjoy doing it, and I encourage all the Board of Selectmen to compete against the Board of Education members.
Jim and I will be there.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. So details to follow, but it'll be exciting.
You run a quarter mile, then I'll do a quarter mile.
We'll both be the anchor.
Someone's got to count the laps, right? So.
Ryan, I have one thing.
That'll be it.
If you're,
Well, I just real quick, because I totally forgot to mention our ribbon cutting on the new
Tuesday.
track is this Tuesday, April
I got an
23rd
invitation in the
at 3:30 p.m. So everyone's invited to that. It's the first home track meet in quite some time. I
Yes,
believe.
yes it is.
And so some good news there. Looking forward to that, celebrating on Tuesday. John?
Yeah, last year we talked about increasing the amount of expenditures, what that would be before that it went out to bid. And the amount, according to our charter, the amount is set annually by the Board of Selectmen. And we haven't talked about that since I've been in office. I'm wondering if we can put that on the agenda.
The town's purchasing policy.
Correct, purchasing policy.
Yeah, so I did make, I'll have to talk with our finance director. I did make changes, some proposed changes to the purchasing policy. We have not updated that, I want to say since 2000, it's either 2004 or 2008. So it's been a long time since the purchasing policy. Those numbers have been adjusted. Obviously, there's been inflation in the past 20 years. So it may, I think it's a good point, something that we can look at. I did go through that. I made some proposed changes. I gave it to Tom, and I think it's in a pile about this high, somewhere buried in. But yeah, I think we can bring that back and talk about that. Sure.
Okay. That's all right.
Sure. Anything else for general informal discussion? All right, so I don't have anything on the follow-up items this evening. I know we still have the Mack fire truck on there. We do need to write that resolution. I want Carrie to help write that. I don't, because of the legality of that. So we'll do that. I haven't forgotten, and that's why we put it on the follow-up item.
Once we get done with the budget, we'll do it.
Yeah, so,
Well,
all right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you both. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.